communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another. This is a site populated by militant movie buffs, sad, pathetic little bastards living in their parents' basement, downloading what they think is inside information about movies and actors they claim to despise yet can't stop discussing. But Affleck was the bomb in Phantoms.
Word, bitch. Phantom's like a motherfucker.
What's up now?
I don't give a shit about winning the G1. To be honest with you, it's not even a real tournament to me. I see the same guys since I got here, sitting at the same table with a couple new faces over there. This is my second year. I'm seeing on social media that I gotta prove something. Fuck you. I ain't gotta prove shit to none of y'all. I've been proving myself since the day I fucking set foot on this goddamn island.
It makes me sick to think what you did to me, holding me back. You guys talk about being students of the game. I am the game, JR. There is nobody that eats, sleeps, or breathes this business more than me.
You asked me the same question like 15 times. Like, this got sprung on me the same time as it did you. And now I got all this other stuff to worry about, and you just keep asking me the same question over and over. And I gave you the same answer every time. I said, I don't know, all right? And I'm not going to manufacture some answer for you and be like, if you want, like, go find somebody else and give them the script. And just have your little show about somebody else that wants to read your script. Like, stop trying to get me to say what you... Stop trying to, like, lead me into saying the things you want me to say, okay?
Do you remember the last time you called me a coward? We were on the set of Talking Smack. And I got in your face, and what did you do? Did you fight for your dreams? Did you punch me in the face? No, you got up and you walked away. Because as much as you pretend that you want to fight me, all you really want is this. This, Daniel. You just want me and you locked in conflict because you know it furthers your career. I have carried you on my back since I was a pro on NXT. 10 years of fighting on the indies, Daniel, to get noticed. And it took me 5 minutes of getting in your face on Talking Smack to make you famous.
This world is such a, and when I say this world, I mean it. I don't mean in an ideal sense. I mean in every day, every little thing you do. It's such a, gimme. Everybody back off. You know, everybody's like, you taught that from school, everywhere. Big business. You want to be successful? You want to be like Trump? Gimme. Push. Step. Crush. That's how it all is. And it's like, nobody ever stopped. Just, you know, I feel like, instead of us just being like, slavery's bad, bad whitey. I mean, all right, let's stop that. And everybody's smart enough to know that, I mean, we've been slighted, and we want ours. And I don't mean by, like, ours, 40 acres and a mule, because we passed that. But we need help. I mean, for us to be on our own 2 feet, us meaning youth or us meaning black people, whatever you want to take it for us to be on our own 2 feet, we do need help. Because we have been here. We have been a good friend. If you want to make it a relationship type thing, we have been there, and now we deserve our payback. It's like you got a friend that you don't never look out for. You know, you dressed up in jewels. Now America's got jewels, and they paid and everything, and they lending money to everybody except us. And it's like, you know, everybody need a little help on their way to being, you know, self-reliant. You know what I'm saying? That's the whole thing about the album, about the Special Olympics. Everybody need a little something and they to be independent. No independent person just grew up and was born independent. You worked and you learned teamwork and you learned cooperation and unity and struggle, and then you became independent. And we have to teach that and instill that. And why is it that they want to do that? I mean, if this is truly a melting pot in the country where we care about it, and Lady Liberty got a hand like this, she really loves us, then we really need to be like that. And it needs to be the black kids. If there's a white person who got money, then you need to help them. You need to help black kids, Mexican kids, Korean kids, whatever. But it needs to be real. And it needs to be before we all die, and then you say, oh, I made a mistake. We should have gave them some money. We really should have helped these folks. It's going to be too late. You know what I'm saying? And then that's when you got to pay your own karma. And that's when God makes you punish, when God punishes you. Because I feel like, it's too much money here. I mean, nobody should be hitting lotto for $36 million and we got people starving in the streets. That is not idealistic. That's just real. That is just stupid. There's no way Michael Jackson should have, or whoever Jackson, should have $1 million, $1 billion, and then there's people starving. There's no way. There's no way that these people should own planes and their people don't have houses, apartments, shacks, drawers, pants. If they earned it, then I think that's good, and I think that they deserve it. But even if you earned it, you still owe. Because look at me, I don't have that mega money, but I feel guilty walking by somebody. I got to give them some mail. And if I know I got $3,000 in my pocket, I feel like it's wrong to give that person a quarter. Or
I gotta stay on the positive vibe. All my people's gotta stay on the positive vibe, The negativity just brings failure, And we ain't trying to fail in this game. We're trying to succeed.
Hey, I feel, hey.
Hey, is this thing on? Oh, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the debut of the Hoots Podcast. The Hoots Podcast is the final transformation, reclamation of the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast, the Pro Wrestling Experience, the Pipe Bomb, wherever show it is. This is the conclusion here. I think we found our home, our soul, our everything of what this podcast is and what's going to be going forward as we continue doing this. Welcome to the program, everybody. My name is Josh Lopez, and you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at NotoriousJoshy. I've been part of the media and the wrestling media for 6 years. I've worked for WrestleZone.com. I even have my own website called ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com. I've been on the New Age Insiders Network with the Pipe Bomb. I've been doing podcasts on here for 5 years. I've been on ChicagoLandSportsRadio.com. And the Hoots Podcast is a podcast about wrestling fans sitting next to each other, talking about wrestling and having fun with it. We're advocates of mental health and positive mental thinking. This podcast is here to have fun. We're not a Sports Center show. We're not a CNN wrestling show. This is a wrestling show about life. Wrestling, of course, we talk about wrestling. We talk all about your favorite shows and stuff that's on our mind about the programming. But the podcast, as you listen to the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast, we don't talk about booking. It's the last thing that's on our mind as me and Adam record these shows together. Today is our debut episode. In the monologue, Adam is not part of it. Adam's been very busy with his work that he's been doing outside of the podcast. And we do have Adam on the program this week, but it's for a topic that we've been doing for the last couple of years, where after a Big Four pay-per-view happens, we talk about the top 5 things that stood out to us during a certain part of the year. So today on the podcast, you're going to listen to our thoughts on the 5 things that stood out the most to us during the summer and fall season of WWE programming. So every show from SummerSlam all the way to where we are past Survivor Series, you're going to get our thoughts on what stood out to us during that part of the year. The Hoots Podcast is not going anywhere. It's not changing. The name of the show has changed, but the show itself hasn't changed. And we're here to entertain you guys through thick and thin, where I'm having a hard week, whether Ad's having a hard week. We're here to entertain you guys and bring something different to the table, and that's our goal here at the end of the day. We're not here to win awards. We're not here to win money. We're not here to go and put companies or certain figures on trial. We're here to make a statement, and our statement is we can have the best show without trying to act like something we're not. And we're not playing gimmicks here. My name is Joshua Lopez. That's Adam Daley, the clown prince of podcasting. And we're here to have fun. So I hope you guys enjoy this journey. I hope for those who've been listening to the podcast since the beginning of 2013, I thank you for the support. Whether you're a fan of us on the Pipe Bomb or on here or Wrestling Warm Up back in the day with WrestlingRumors.net, we appreciate your support, and we're totally grateful for that because we don't want to talk to air, and the fact that people even take 30 seconds out of their time to listen to our nonsense, we truly, truly, truly appreciate it. So I'm going to be opening the monologue here on the podcast, and then we're going to bring Adam in, and then we're going to do our fun features towards the end of the show. So my monologue this week for the debut episode of the Hoots Podcast, it's something that's been on my mind, and it's been coming off the heels of Monday Night Raw this past week. And during this time of the year, you always hear the saying that wrestling and WWE related always goes in a lull heading into the Royal Rumble. You know, it's the holiday season. By the way, I hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving, by the way. I want to get that out of the way. Hopefully you didn't run anybody over on Black Friday. You know, it's the holiday season, and usually the thing with WWE programming is on the law, and it's not a lot of adrenaline. There's not a lot of purpose to the shows that go through the late November and December months of programming. And I don't know why it was this week to see the antithesis of meltdowns of fans that hate the programming right now, and they're just at the edge of their seat. They want to jump out the cliff because they can't handle 3-hour Monday Night Raws. Well, me and Adam have told you time and time and time again that you are not required to watch a certain show live anymore, especially professional wrestling. It's not a slight to the shows and what they bring to the table, but it's 2018. It's not 1998. You're not required to sit in the show. You're not going to miss anything. And that's the charm of having platforms like a DVR or a TiVo or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Or having articles that write about the show. Hell, that's the reason why I started my own website for the folks that maybe don't have the money to afford USA Network each month or don't get to watch the shows on the network. I want to have my articles to be as a reference point just for you to catch up with what's going on in the product. And that's kind of the charm of what we do here on the podcast as well, where we talk about what's going on and not as opposed to what we would do different or this or that. Yeah, we have our moments where we say some suggestions of matches and feuds we'd like to see, but it's not, we could do a better job than you are. Because I don't think I'm above anybody. I'm certainly so not above Vince McMahon or anybody in the WWE, and Adam could say the same thing. We're not above anybody that listens to the show, by the way. Please understand that. We are equal as wrestling fans, and I think sometimes we confuse that. Just because you're on a podcast or you run a website doesn't mean you're better than somebody. I never had that mindset since I started this in 2013. I'm not above anybody. I may have a different mindset in the way I view things than the common person that you listen to on a show like this, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't. I think me being positive is not a bad thing. I think me not jumping off a ledge over a certain booking for a performance that I like that may not be going to my liking and not going on a hissy fit about it, it's not a bad thing. You know, I think we all have our ways of how we want to conduct ourselves on air. And honestly, for me, I want you to have fun listening to this show. At the end of the day, that's it. I don't want you to feel bad about being a wrestling fan. I don't want you to second guess yourself of watching a certain brand just because I may not like a show that you like. It's not about that. The show's about having fun. And when I hear the saying, wrestling or WWE always goes through the lull during the fall or winter season, I always sit back and ask myself, don't you think the podcasts that you listen to don't go through lulls? Like, I'm seriously asking you that. Think about the podcast you listen to, whether it's sports, wrestling, or anything related, even comedy. You don't think there's lulls during that time of year when you have a show that's dropping every single week, like a show like this? You know? That's not saying there's not great podcasts that deliver awesome content every single week. For example, I love Rant with Ant. They kill it every single fucking week. I love them. I enjoy their shows. What else? I love listening to the local radio shows that have their podcasts after the fact they have on there. You know, sometimes those shows have lulls depending on if the team's doing good or maybe I'm not feeling the vibe that the host is bringing on the air and it's uber negative the entire time. You know, there's different lulls. I'll admit it. after we had that original split when Adam first left the podcast in 2016, and I was still on the pipe bomb. I haven't told anybody this, but I felt like I was on a lull and I was heading backwards when I was still on the pipe bomb. I never told anybody this, so I'm glad I'm able to speak this out and confess to you guys as we're doing this debut episode today. I felt like I was holding back in a lot of ways when I was on the pipe bomb, as opposed to maybe what you heard on that show. And I brought a lot of energy. I felt like I brought at times a perspective where it's not just everything that you hear in the bubble or things you read on Twitter and stuff like that. But once Adam left and we had that little distance period between us, I'll admit I got on a lull. And I felt the Pipe Bomb show as a whole went on a lull. And it's not a dig towards B-Rob, because me and B-Rob have always been cool. I love that guy to death. It has nothing to do with him. But there was just a disconnect. And you had those with podcasts that you have every single week, and you have a different recording process, and you're changing the dates of when you're recording, and you have to put things to the back burner just to make sure you record the show, and this and that, and it can affect the show overall. I felt as we were heading towards WrestleMania 33 season, I felt like I wasn't at my best. Looking back at it and listening to the shows that I did, not only on the Pipe Bomb, but I was still doing this podcast. You know, the show is called the Hoots Podcast right now, but this is still the same podcast you listened to over the last 5 to 6 years. And I felt like I wasn't giving it my all. There was a big burnout factor that I was dealing with. There was a lot of personal stuff that was affecting me. And the fact that I thought I almost lost my brother, that was the issue that you guys could have felt when you were listening to the show. I'm being brutally honest with you guys right now. I didn't deliver my best. And I think I pride myself on my work ethic and bringing the best I can out of these articles and podcasts. But I'm not perfect. Maybe inside myself at times I feel like I am the best, and maybe I don't get the type of attention that other people do and this and that. But, you know, I'm not perfect either. I don't think anybody that does shows like this or radio shows or write articles or this or that or popular on social media, nobody's perfect. And a lot of that personal stuff consumed me, and it overtook me, and it took a lot of fun out of recording these type of shows. And I went through that lull, and I feel bad about it thinking back on this right now. But when you have something that you really enjoy, whether it's watching wrestling each week or recording shows, I love doing this. I do not regret becoming a broadcaster. I don't regret going to broadcasting school. I don't regret doing podcasting each week. I love this. I love this platform. I love what this platform provides for wrestling fans who continue to have people come up to them and judge them for being a wrestling fan. I'm just like you. I'm a wrestling fan. I get silly comments and dirty looks when I wear a wrestling hoodie or a t-shirt at a movie theater and this and that. And they're like, oh, do you know this stuff is fake, right? And every wrestling fan goes through that process. When we're here and we do a show like this on the Hoots Podcast and you're listening to it right now, you and I are equal. You're a good brother. You're a good sister. You're not a fan. I won't look down on you if you're just an attitude era type of guy or whatever side of the bubble you want to be on. But the one thing I always requested from people who checked out my work is try to look at things from a different perspective and not just be narrow-minded. And I think when you have shows like Monday Night Raw that has matches and they do repeats of matches and some storylines kind of go longer than you expected or maybe want to, and maybe you feel like things are coasting. I don't think people really understand the difficulties that come with actually creating content each week. You know, you got your exceptions, man. You have some people who are really talented that can come up with new things every single week and are on the cutting edge of what people want, and you have the pulse of what people want to listen to, and it's definitely a challenge. You know, I've been doing this for 6 years, and I think the show, for itself, humbly speaking, has got attention. Maybe not attention as other shows, but I don't think that's a slight on me or Adam. You know, there's like over 300 wrestling podcasts right now, and some shows click for other folks, and some shows don't. Our show is more positive. Our show is more about having fun to talk about real life issues. I think people handling the truth or having people not playing gimmicks on it may turn people off, but I don't regret how I go about recording this show. Are there lulls? Is there a week where I'm not feeling it wrestling wise, and you're doing the show just to do a show? Sure. Anybody that tells you that every week they come on here and they want to do this and they're going to do it to the best of their ability is lying to you. Not every single week. There's things in life that overtake the fun out of this, and they fuck with your head, and they make you start questioning yourself. Why am I not getting this attention? Why do this happen? Why does that happen? And just being honest, you know, I love doing this. This is an escape for me. The reason why I enjoy coming on here and talking to you guys each week is because I don't have a lot of people to talk to when I'm not on air. I love doing this because I love professional wrestling. I love doing this because it's part of my career and I went to school for this. It's not, oh, I'm on here just to show everybody that Josh Lopez is the baddest motherfucker on the podcasting game. It's not Josh Lopez, oh, I'm doing this so I could get a sponsorship or a job somewhere. You know, that's not why I'm in it. I feel like the day if I ever got hired by a station is because I earned it and I put the grunt work behind it to get those type of jobs. You're listening to this, you're spending time with me right now, and I appreciate your support. But don't get it twisted, guys. Monday Night Raw or SmackDown or whatever wrestling show you listen or you watch or listen to, they're all going to have lull periods. I'm not saying that it's okay to just blindly go through shows and act like not things could be better or things should change and maybe formats should change and maybe we shouldn't be repeating the same matches week and week, month and month and month. I totally get that, and constructive criticism is always appreciated, but I think just in my opinion, it's just over the top right now on social media, especially Twitter. There's a lot of things that are just not realistic to the complaints that I see on Twitter, and some of them just don't make sense in my humble opinion. I don't. I like to rationalize with people and try to look at different perspectives of people who may not be the biggest WWE fans anymore, and I try to see why that is and maybe how it can relate to how I feel about the product. And guys, I've been doing these type of shows for 6 years. I've seen shit Raws, I've seen shit SmackDowns, I've seen shit pay-per-views. You have a program that's on 52 weeks a year. They're not all going to be great. They're just not. Is it okay to demand good product week in and week out? Of course. But to expect, I don't know, go home shows for WrestleManias on every single Raw towards a certain pay-per-view, it's just unrealistic. Some shows are going to click and some shows are not. You can make the excuse of, 3 hours is the reason why Monday Night Raw sucks each week. You have a 3-hour Raw, but you do the same matches every single week. Whatever your narrative is on Monday Night Raw, there's another way to look at it. There is. That's the charm of this type of programming. That's the charm of entertainment. It's subjective. I'm at work. I don't get to watch Raw live every single week. And if I was working on Monday nights, I wouldn't be watching Raw live. You know why? Because I don't have to watch a show 3 hours and sit through commercial breaks and lament about seeing the same matches over and over again and not having to tweet out every little second thought that comes to my mind when a segment's going on during the show. You know, I save my thoughts on these shows on here for a reason. I rarely tweet. There'll be a couple of moments where I say, oh, this is a good match here and there. I may have it in the background at the tattoo shop. But am I coming on here and give you my full breakdown of how things are in the state of wrestling and this and that? And, you know, every Monday Night Raw and SmackDown is a referendum of where the product is. And I hate going through that echo chamber. I hate going through that cycle. I hated going through that cycle when I was on the pipe bomb. It sucked. It took away from the enjoyment of not only doing podcasting, but it took my enjoyment away of being a wrestling fan. Because I wasn't being a wrestling fan anymore. I was being an analyst. I was being put into this bubble that I didn't want to be in, but the fact that I was on the show and we're breaking down booking decisions, and we're breaking down feuds, and we're breaking down what's happening next. And it took the fun of it. Because you see a surprise on the show, and it's not a surprise anymore. You second guess everything on the show, and then the next week, they give you the answers you're looking for. How many times do you listen to a show and they'll be like, oh, why are they doing this for this certain food? And then they show you the next week. You know, it is episodic, but I think us as viewers in this instant gratification era that we're in, we overlook those type of things. You're not going to get all the answers you want to a feud on one episode of Raw. You're not. You're just not. And I have to go through this through a realistic point of view. And I hope you guys do as well. Understand, folks, podcasters and podcasting shows go through lulls. Some are better at it. Some people are not. Some people last through this game and some people don't. I'm not saying I'm better or worse than anybody in this game, but I know that when I come on here, I'm doing this for a purpose. I'm doing this to have fun. I'm doing this to maybe open somebody's mind process through a different lens. And hopefully I can make your day better. That's the goal at the end of the day. I could be the hot take guy. I could be the guy that comes on here and just pots a blood vessel over a show, but I had to be realistic at the same point. Yes, wrestling in WWE goes through lulls during the fall season and the winter season and going into the Royal Rumble. Is it right? Is it wrong? It's not for me to say. But don't think that the podcast that you listen to, I always see this thing on Twitter where they say, oh, people get more enjoyment from listening to a podcast than they do watching a live wrestling show. You don't think those shows go through a lull? And you could include my show to the list as well. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not perfect, nor do I strive to be perfect. I strive to be the best I could be, and at the same time, I had to realize that I had to just be me at the end of the day. You're listening to the Hoots Podcast. You're listening to myself, and you're listening to Adam Daley. We're doing this show to change things for the better, and we're here to have fun at the end of the day. You could agree or disagree with our opinions. You could take our opinions at face value, but we're never going to dictate how you feel on the show. And it's a shame that every time I go on Twitter while I get a break at work and I'm seeing what's going on in Raw or SmackDown, and it's like people are about to jump off a fucking cliff over a subjective wrestling show. And I just never understood that mentality. Yes, there's a 52-week cycle of Raw and SmackDown, and they're not all going to be great. Can the WWE product overall be better than it was a couple years ago? Sure. Guys, I'm positive as any wrestling fan that could be out there, but don't think I feel like every single segment and every single feud and every single show is great. You know, when I see shows that have the repeated matches, yeah, I would like to see something different, but guess what? I have the same feeling as a writer where you're making my job easy. So while people are crying and moaning about Raw being repetitive, they're making my job easier as a transcriber of these shows and repeated matches. It helps me get better as a writer as well, studying these matches. So again, as the age-old question, as I said over the last 6 years, is this really a hill to die on? Is Raw that bad that's affecting you being a wrestling fan? Because if it is, It's a reflection on you because nobody's requiring you to watch Raw anymore. Nobody's requiring you to watch wrestling for 3 hours live. Nobody's requiring you to watch anything. You choose to be it. We all glutton for punishments, including myself. I'm a glutton in the fact of critiquing myself and not appreciating the process. I'm a glutton for over-guessing myself and being my worst enemy. That's the burden that I bridge every single week. Remember, folks, it's not as always bad as you think it is. You know, some shows are going to be hits, some are not. I'm never going to tell somebody that they shouldn't expect better from the program each week, but just from my humble opinion, this is not the worst era of Raw that I've seen in the 24 years of being a wrestling fan and being on this earth. So that's just my opinion. So hope you guys enjoyed the monologue. Welcome to the Hoots Podcast. Adam will be here full time, obviously, next week. He's just been having a really busy week. But we do have Adam here for you this week. And here we go. We're going to play a couple clips here in between this show, but the first one we're going to air for you right now is Dean Ambrose from this past week's Monday Night Raw. And when we come back, you'll hear from the Clown Prince, Adam Daley.
Did you really think that I would expose myself for Raw tonight in the toxic dump that is Milwaukee? Well, if you're disappointed, then deal with it. I'm sure you're used to disappointment by now. Seth Rollins will also say that he is disappointed that I am not there. But I know that he is relieved. Why else would he feel so safe as to issue his Intercontinental Championship Open Challenge tonight? Because I'm not there. But next week, I promise, I will be there. Right in the center of the ring. But right now, first of all, it's flu season. And I just don't want to risk coming out there and risk catching something from you people. Because you people, like Rollins, are vermin. Sometimes out there, I feel like I'm in a third world country. The stench of your breath, the putrid smell of your body odor, your greasy, fat little hands pawing at me. It's revolting. Revolting. Sometimes I feel like I need protection from, like, Ebola or E. coli or Ebola or whatever it is, diseases you're all carrying. Like this. For dysentery, typhoid, distemper, right? And the next one's rabies, right?
This is for rabies, and this is going to punch a bit.
Good. Because I would not go to Houston next week without my rabies shot.
This next shot's going to be your hip.
Oh. It's the price you pay. Now, Seth Rollins, there is no shower that can wash away your sins. There is no medicine for you that can cure the sickness that is in your soul. You are a lost cause, compadre. At TLC, because I'm such a great guy, I'm going to do the good and decent thing, the merciful thing, and put you out of your misery. For good.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm back here with the Clown Prince, Adam Daley. Say hello to the good brothers and sisters, my man.
Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? Listen, I apologize. This is supposed to be the big reboot. It's supposed to be a big, like, relaunching kind of day. And then I got slammed with, like, work projects on work projects on work projects. So, not complaining. That means business is good. When business is good, the kid is smiling, but at the same time, yeah, but at the same time, you know, it's unfortunately going to cut into my podcasting time this week because it's actually legit that busy. I'm a businessman. I'm a business man. So, Josh, back to you, brother.
We are going to talk a little business right now, actually, because it's the time of the year after a Big Four pay-per-view where we take a look back at the previous 3 months of programming, not just WWE related, but all of spectrums of professional wrestling. So this is going to be our top 5 things that stood out to us during the summertime of 2018 for wrestling programming, as we're just coming off the heels of Survivor Series. And we're going to talk about a lot of things. Just things like it could be any topic. It could be a match a performer that stood out to you from a certain brand over the last couple months. It could be a storyline. It could be a pay-per-view like All In or something like that. It could be up to any thing that comes to your mind that stood out to you during the summer of 2018 professional wrestling content. And my list is definitely going to be sporadic with a lot of the other companies I cover each week. So it's going to be an interesting list. You can interact with us on Twitter at NotoriousJoshi, at Anthony13. What stood out to you so far from a positive standpoint from wrestling during the past couple of months? Is there a female performer that's catch your attention that maybe surprised you than she didn't do before? We're always open to those type of topics. So let's get into it, shall we? We'll start with Adam here. We'll start with your number 5 here.
Well, and before we get into this, because we're not going to get my loud mouth on most of the podcast this week, let's do a quick thing. If we do hear a dog barking, I mean, we all know that we tragically lost Raider about a month and a half ago, exactly, actually, to this day. So, we had a couple episodes without a dog barking, but we did get a new dog. So if you hear a dog, it's a much louder dog this time. But yeah, so apologize if you hear barking again. And 2, it sounds like we're a little herky jerky when we're going back and forth this week. Josh and I with our back and forth cadence. It's because be honest, I'm so crushed with work. I didn't feel like going through and busting out all my equipment and doing all that. So I'm using a headset and I'm having to mute myself whenever Josh talks. So apologize, guys. A little bit of a lazy day on my end for the big reboot, and I know I'm kind of ruining it for everybody. But again, real life kind of came knocking. So Josh, for me, number 5. I have a pretty interesting list on here, but 5 I'm starting off with the Riot Squad, and I think that I really enjoy seeing what they've been doing with not only Ruby but with Liv and with Sarah Logan over the past couple months. Their ride along special was hysterical. It was we just got 2K19 for my daughter as an early birthday present, and it was funny because all 3 of us sat down and we were like, all right, so let's be the Riot Squad, and we all called like Liv Morgan immediately. Just because I thought everyone was going to call it like Ruby and like so, but it was instant. It was funny that we all everybody kind of like claimed it was claimed with different characters. But I really think that I'm upset that they kind of had to break up Absolution, but I'm glad that they stuck these 3 together. And because I think I'm a big fan of factions, and especially when they work. And I think this is going to set up Ruby to be a big time, eventually a contender for a championship on a show. Is she going to? I mean, it is believable that she could contend against a Ronda Rousey or a Becky Lynch, or Ruby is that type of wrestler, that type of fighter. So I think they've done a really good job of not only building Ruby Riott up, but definitely building up Liv Morgan and Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan as well. And let's not forget while it's number 5 on my list. Let's not forget that I believe it was in this little between SummerSlam and now. It's when Liv accidentally took a shot from Brie Bella, and everybody wanted Brie Bella kicked out of wrestling because everybody, and Liv Morgan was everybody's baby. So everybody says that they don't do much with this, that, or the other thing, but as soon as somebody goes down, look how much everybody cares, right? For how much we claim to not care, it seems like we care. So, and that's why I think it's undeniable, at least for me. Just the overall development where, I think now we absolutely consider the Riot Squad a force, to be reckoned with. And I think that we can see them not only maybe if they do come out with tag titles, might see Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan with the tag championships maybe at one time, but we could see Ruby with a potential title reign on either show at one point. So, definitely love what they're doing with Riot Squad as number 5.
Don't forget, the next time we'll be doing this type of segment will be after the Royal Rumble. So just was wondering, yes, the Royal Rumble will be next time we'll be doing this. It's not a state of wrestling or going on trial of where wrestling is right now. That shit's so overdone when it comes to these type of shows. But my number 5 is season 4 of Lucha Underground. Lucha Underground just wrapped up their season about a week and a half ago, and Lucha Underground had Ultima Lucha Cuatro, and Ultima Lucha was a success, just like every single Ultima Lucha. Some of the cliffhangers to see Bad News Barrett being like the main bad heel authority figure now on Lucha Underground is going to be fucking awesome. Seeing Dario Cueto pop up from a casket, so he came back from the dead, so that was pretty cool. Vampiro still wants to recreate 1999, but he plays a good part of the show, actually. As a guy who maybe it's not everybody's favorite wrestler from back then during WCW, but I think he's done a good job from a commentary standpoint. And he does play a big role when it comes to guys like Pentagon Jr. on the show, Phoenix, a lot of the luchadors from AAA. So Vampiro always seems to have some heel turn into him when it comes to these Ultima Lucha shows. So Lucha Underground Season 4 is my number 5. I enjoyed it. I love Lucha Underground. It's my favorite non-WWE promotion right now, and I love some lucha.
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up because my number 4 is actually going outside of the WWE realm. But as far as lucha goes, who were some of the players you were just talking about there? Toss some names out of me.
Yes, sir. So Johnny Mundo's still there. John Morrison, Johnny Everything Trademark. I'm just calling him that, Johnny Trademark now.
Vampiro. Yeah, like I said.
Oh yeah, Vampiro.
Okay, so here's one out with Vampiro. Whenever I haven't watched Lucha in a while, but whenever I first started watching it, I remember thinking, and I used to love Vampiro when he was back in his WCW days. And I remember thinking, man, I don't know if I was really there with him at first. But Vampiro definitely over time grew on me to where he does his job very well, and he's super intelligent. Like he knows the business very well. So I actually have a lot of respect and really enjoy Vampiro. What about number 4? Going with my number 4 then. All right. So since you went outside WWE, I'm going to go outside WWE. Listen, it's. For me, it's hard not to say that, right? The past couple months for being the Elite has been amazing. You're right around All In, because All In was September 1st, so that's in this wheelhouse. And then you look at the quasi storyline, wink, nudge, nudges that they're doing. All the troll jobs on WWE, but also they're obviously building towards something. And whether it's signing with WWE or coming out, starting their own company was rumored, or if they're just re-signing somewhere else, or a lot of people are playing the guessing game right now, and just the little jokes that they have in there, like when they had Shark Boy on there, and they were jumping the shark, like that was hysterical to me, and it's just like with the timer setting down, it's like, oh, what's your clock say? Oh, 1 month, about a month and a half. Oh, I still got 2 years. Like just the little quasi jokes that I don't know if you guys saw it live. The whole possession of Cody Rhodes and the and the exorcism of Cody Rhodes has been really like, I don't know. I don't know. I've been really enjoying it, and obviously Marty, my man Marty Scurll, I think has had a really solid quarter. The Villain Club has absolutely turned into Villain Enterprises, and I think that match with Okada at All In really helped. I don't want to say put him on the map, because I don't want to say we've all, I hate using broad paintbrushes, but Josh, we've talked about Marty for a long time now. I think a lot of us have, but I think that's where Marty got put in the, okay, wait a minute, is maybe he is going to WWE before we think, because I keep thinking that, and this is just me, fantasy booking here. I keep thinking that the Villain's actually still Bullet Club, and he's not Elite, and he's going to turn on all of them, and like the Bullet Club's just going to turn on all the Elite, and then they sign. What I think would be cooler, Josh, I don't know, let me pitch this to you. What if they all turn on Marty? That's why they're not going to his party, and he's the one that actually leaves and signs with WWE, and he's the only one that signs with WWE, Wouldn't that be something interesting outside of the, how everyone else is looking at it? So I don't know, but I really, really love, Marty's gimmick. I'm admittedly borrowing it on social media accounts. So, but that's where I'm at right now. Just really the Elite guys and just being on the Elite show, and just everything they did with Jericho's Cruise and the Halloween special. And, these guys are putting in a hell of a lot of work. So I guess instead of being the Elite, just the men of the Elite and, their significant others that are putting up with, their crazy schedules and stuff. I just think that's, I wanted to make sure I got them in somewhere. because I think that, they've been working, especially the Bucks have been working on this for such a long time, and you can tell that they have so much fun with it, and they're really hitting like that sweet spot of where it's almost becoming, it's been can't miss, but it's becoming can't miss on a weekly basis now, where it's like we can't wait until that Monday notification hits and it's like there's a new episode, and we're like, yes, all right, we're gonna be watching it. So, but yeah, so that's where I'm at with the guys in the elite. So who do you got at number 4?
My number 4 is going to be 205 Live. Going back to the WWE realm, I love 205 Live. I've been one of the biggest advocates of 205 Live since it started. And just the overall presentation of the show, having Maria Kanellis and Mike Kanellis on the brand's been a nice addition. I love what they do with the Lucha House Party and some of the tag teams on 205 Live, specifically that particular show. And I wonder if he'll get a new title on not Lucha Underground, my bad, 205 Live. It would be nice to see like a tag team title on 205 Live, because there are some good tag teams on there. Seeing guys like Drew Gulak and Jack Gallagher work together, they do some really good stuff. You got Mike Kanellis with TJ Perkins as a tag team now. They're doing some good stuff there as well. You got Cedric Alexander still doing his thing. Leo Rush puts on some good matches, despite him saying Lashley every single show. But the kid's a good wrestler, and I can say kid because I'm actually older than the guy. So, also, just the stuff that Buddy Murphy's been doing on 205 Live has been phenomenal. I love his work. He's one of the best wrestlers in WWE. And I could also add Mustafa Ali to the list as well. So I really enjoy what they've been doing on 205 Live. So that's my number 4.
Oh, hey, there we go. So there was going to be a little bit of dead air there because my microphone was muted. So no, you know what? I agree, man. I actually, I think that now would see, just as 205 Live, I think in a way might need to get some visibility back on Raw again. Maybe. I don't know. I don't want to say one way or the other because maybe it is special that they do have it on network only for the most part, and it is something that we need to get more into, and maybe there's just so much wrestling and so many like original shows too that we want to watch with like Edge and Christian back, and I don't know. Go ahead, Josh.
Speaking of Edge and Christian, if you guys haven't seen the first episode for season 2, it's fucking hilarious. Please go check it out. I love Edge and Christian. Those guys are insane. By the way, I heard they're doing a NXT UK takeover. Why can't 205 Live have their own takeover? I don't know.
Maybe they'll get there. Well, because they're still considered main brand, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. But Buddy Murphy and Mustafa Ali did rip it up at Survivor Series, though. I'll give those guys some props.
Oh, that match was, they've been putting on some quality matches. That match on Australia was amazing. And they always do put on quality matches. It's just, I'll admit, it's just, anytime we do go on to the network for something, it's typically that we already know of a certain destination we're going to. And we just don't watch enough TV in this house really to always like fit so much in, But with that being said, number 3 is just, let's call him the constant. Let's call him the always going to be. Let's call him the great. Corey Graves is going to be at number 3 this time. I think he might have went down a notch. I typically put him at 2 just because I feel like I shouldn't put him at 1 because it's too markish to do that. But I actually put him at number 3 because I feel like there's been 2 people that have really, really like grabbed pro wrestling by the throat right now and have been really running with the ball. But right now, Corey Graves still for me. I don't care what anybody says. I think he's the best in the game. I don't know where the criticism comes from. I think it's mainly out of jealousy because he's a hell of a lot funnier and more charismatic than a lot of the men that bash him could ever hope to be or have been in their tenures with certain companies. So that being said, here's my weekly praise of Corey Graves. I'm sure by now that's probably an inside locker room joke if any. Out of the 4 people that listen to this show, I doubt any of them would do that. But no, Graves to me is still always one of the highlights because for allegedly how bad everyone says the show is, like, he's been great with carrying storylines, carrying, jokes that he carries from show to show to show. I think that he's somebody that right now, all the people that are criticizing him, not the older, jaded, bitter fucks, I'm not talking about them, but like some of the like younger guys that might be criticizing, that might not, vibe with him for whatever reason. One, it's probably because he's a good-looking dude, and dudes typically are envious of good-looking dudes. And two, on the flip side, I think that when he's going to be one of them guys that when you finally get it, you're going to be like, shit, I missed a hell of a lot of good years with really good work, Graves is just, and maybe that's, and I know people don't like this, but that's the Bobby Heenan in me, that's that quick wit. So, number 3, the great Corey Graves.
My number 3 are going to be 2 documentaries that just recently aired on the WWE Network. One of them is the Dean Ambrose Chronicle special they did. I have a clip from that Chronicle that's part of our new open of the show. Dean Ambrose, it's really illustrates Dean the person, but also the character he's showing on air now. So I thought that was a nice balance on that documentary. And also I really enjoyed the AJ Styles 365 special they aired at the Survivor Series last week. So those are 2 documentaries that really stood out to me. And also, since we're adding summer and fall to this list here, we could add the Halloween special as well. So there's been some good special documentary content on the WWE Network if you haven't catch up recently. So that's my number 3.
Here's your number 3. My new dog is literally like using me as a chew toy right now. Like, and this is not a small dog. I'm used to small dogs, and I know this has nothing to do with what the hell we're talking about right now, guys. But this is the beauty of our podcast. I'm like, my dog is literally trying to eat my fucking arm, and I apologize for the profanity right there. But this 7-month-old, we don't know what the hell she is. It was born on WrestleMania Day. We found her in a shelter. I'm not joking. Was born on WrestleMania Day and was named Piper. So for us, that's was like a no-brainer that this dog was coming home with us. But anyway, to make a long story short, I'm not used to dogs that can muscle me around. I'm still getting used to this. So as I'm trying to bear hug a goddamn llama of a dog down, and as my daughter laughs in the background because she can't take too much of this. Number 2, speaking of interesting personalities. Listen, man, I think that something that we've all, and again, broad paintbrush, but I love this. There's been a lot of us wanted something different out of Dean Ambrose, and it was not Dean Ambrose's fault. We all knew that. You can only run as the same thing for so long before you want some, you know what I mean? When you know that there are artists and there's somebody as creative as Dean Ambrose kind of being regulated, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it. Listen, you do what's asked of you, and as what we're going to talk about with my number 1 as well, you do what's asked of you so that way when it's your time, you go out like gangbusters. And right now, it's Dean Ambrose's time. And listen, this has been, I think, it's so fucking engaging to watch just the whole storyline play out. And I don't know, I'm not online anymore really, so I don't really know what people's like vibe is on this right now. But I've been so enthralled with the Ambrose-Rollins dichotomy. Like, there was, and I don't know if anybody caught this, like, Ambrose was popping up, this was 2 weeks ago. He was basically Joker to, and I know I overuse this, but it was Joker to Batman, down to the point where he was, just popping up on a screen. Name one movie where Joker doesn't pop up on a screen like that, just randomly, where, like, it was almost like a little takeover. He's just walking around backstage, like, just constantly trolling, putting him in like almost like putting him in a maze, a little bit less than the Killing Joke's circus style maze, but kept leading him in dead ends and just kind of mentally tormenting him that way. I love this Dean Ambrose, and I kind of want to put an asterisk and kind of link Renee Young in with him on this, because I love how on a weekly basis too, we're starting to see how frustrated she's getting, and how Graves like leans in on her, like, well, so come on, you got to know more, like, well, what so, and I'm hoping that this is going well. We've been talking about Josh, and even if it doesn't, Ambrose himself right now has just been fantastic. Renee kind of joining in with what's going on is really just adding on and a whole extra layer of awesome to this, So I really enjoy what's going on with Dean Ambrose first and foremost. Like it's so awesome to see him back almost as he should be and as he's at his best. I think to us, at least to where he can get and use his creative juices, because I think tortured souls sometimes need to play with their demons just to keep sane in their life. But I do like the Renee Young edition as well. So that's where I'm at with number 2, Josh.
My number 2, and I'm going to give a shout out to the good brother Nick for the UK. I think he's going to appreciate this. My number 2 is the NXT UK branded show that they got in the network right now. Just my opinion as a wrestling fan, I think they've been providing better wrestling matches and entertainment than the actual NXT USA brand right now. I love all the characters on NXT UK. Dave Massive is a lot of fun. I love that dude. That guy's freaking hilarious. I love the action. Mark Andrews has been a beast. You got you guys like Zach Gibson, who's a heat mogner. You got so many other talented performers like Ligero. You got the Coffee Brothers. They got this nice little trio. They got British Strong Style. Pete Dunne is still the man. Him and Jordan Devlin had an awesome title match last night on NXT UK. And congrats to Rhea Ripley, who's the first ever NXT UK Women's Champion as well. So I've been.
I'll have to tell my daughter that. My daughter loves Rhea Ripley. That's cool.
Yeah, so NXT UK, the show, is my number 2, and they've been killing it on the network recently.
All right, so I don't know. We didn't talk about this beforehand because I
think we're on the same wavelength here.
I think we're on the same wavelength, but because this is something, guys, where I say this went from I'm not going to be on the show this week just because I did get bombarded with so much legit work. It just got everything's just stacked up, and it's just one of them. When you guys get a little bit of hair on your chest and grow a little bit older, you'll understand. When you guys are chasing that actual money instead of working for somebody. But that's something we'll talk about at a different time on a different podcast. Dude, and because this is weird because I'm gonna have to keep muting my mic just so that way you don't sound super echoey. But I don't think anybody out there is gonna. I don't think you guys even have to question who our number 1 is gonna be. At least my number 1, because if they're not your number 1 right now, then you're not a fan of professional wrestling. Let's face it, the man is. There's a lot of good things going on in wrestling. There's not a close second. Becky Lynch is so far above everybody else right now, and she's the perfect example. And Josh, let's go back and forth on this a little bit first, But this, I just want to give you the first point. This is the perfect example of if you sit back, do what's asked of you. Sometimes do PR like you're supposed to. Do the movie spot. And just understand that it's a business. Understand that it's a job and it's a career. And understand that when your time comes, you seize that day. You seize that opportunity. And you make the most of it. This is exactly what Becky Lynch did. And if there's somebody right now that we're watching on a weekly basis, and there's a bunch of men and women that we could pull out and say, listen, that's the path you follow. That's the path you follow. I don't think there's a better example on how to be a company worker than Becky Lynch. I mean, she came up and was arguably, just as good as any of the 4 horsemen. She had her favorites, she was my favorite. So she had her own little cult fan base. But it got to a point where everybody, I think over the years, started to realize, she's good. And she did the right thing. She didn't complain. She never bitched. She never moaned. Waited until they said, hey, we got something for you. Because she knew that as soon as they gave her the ball, she was going to run with it. And, we always get the invasion style angles once a year at least for some sort of pay-per-view. It just felt so much different. And even though typically Becky's the one leading it, and I totally forgot, how she led the one last year, but there's just something I think that how they did it with this year with Becky and how different it was. And listen, there was something that, people are not going to like what I say right here. But there is something to that injury that did add to the legend of Becky Lynch. It's unfortunate that maybe she didn't get to whoop Ronda's ass like Charlotte did, because maybe that was supposed to be the big, heel moment that didn't turn her heel. But in still in a strange way, it's all almost working out for the better. And I think this is going to make Becky Lynch a pretty big star, I think, come WrestleMania. But I think it would be hard to debate that there's been anything better in wrestling in the past since SummerSlam than Becky Lynch. I mean, come on, she's been. I mean, it's just she keeps upping her game every week. Her social media game, like it's been insane. Like so, that's what happens though, guys. Like that's what when they say grabbing the brass rings, and is the joke on fuck the revival, by the way. But but grabbing the brass rings, that's what they mean. You have sometimes you got to do the company stuff because it's just you're not in the story at that time, and that's okay. Because you're a part of a company, you're a part of a team, you're a part of a locker room. But the idea is that when they call your number, just like any other team or locker room that we'd be on, when they call your number, when they call your name, you better be able to produce. And nobody's producing better than Becky Lynch right now. So kudos to the last kicker because she is legit on fire.
Yeah, Becky, for me, if you had a category for breakout star of all of wrestling in 2018, it would be Becky Lynch. Not for what she's been doing this year, but for me personally, I'm happy for her because she's always been the standout for me out of all the WWE Four Horsewomen. And that's no offense to Charlotte or Sasha or Bailey because they bring a lot to the table to the company, and especially how excited everybody is for the women division for both Raw and SmackDown, and how women's wrestling is kind of dominating even over men's storylines over the year. I'm just happy to see this, and as opposed to Punk when he made his heel turn at Raw 1000 and he started crying and demanding for respect and all this stuff, and he felt like he was being ignored during that time period where he wasn't making any pay-per-views. Becky's claiming that she is the man, and she's getting the respect that she wants now.
She's taking respect. It's not she's not crying for respect. She's demanding respect. That's the difference. And listen, and if that's what kills me, like the Punk haters that don't like this Becky Lynch character, what do you want out of it? You know what I mean? Like, what do you want out of a wrestling character? Because this is her right now. She might have upped sans the straight edge society. She might have upped any character Punk had. And I'm sorry. I know, and that's. But let's face, given time, I want to see this breathe for a couple months and breathe over like the next year. But if she keeps going with the momentum that she's going, and if it's going in the direction I think that it is going to go in, drop the belt, win the Rumble, win at WrestleMania. This puts her. This makes her a star. I mean, this is going to make Becky Lynch a star. I think that not only this is going to open doors for her outside of wrestling as well, too. Like, listen, it's great for us, but I think this is something that's going to change this woman's life from, listen, she's doing a Marine 6. There's no reason why she couldn't be in other movies. There's no reason why this woman couldn't be an action star if she wanted to, just like how Rousey's in movies and, so I think that everything that, the injury was unfortunate, but in a way, crowd was going to end up cheering for Becky anyway. So it kind of gave WWE an easy out to try and swing her back in as a baby face, but without her actually turning baby face. This is the closest to the female star. And I know people don't like the comparisons, but this organically happened. And that's the only reason why I'm doing a comparison to the Stone Cold turn back in the day. Because it was more the fans' turn than Stone Cold turn. It's the same exact thing with this. So when it's organic like this, and especially how it looked like they were going to do it on such a violent nature, and how they did, it's been awesome. And I love, especially Josh, this is showing that it doesn't have to be about the men, especially when it comes to the physicality, the brutality, the coming back from an injury, demanding to keep going. Like, there's a lot of guys that would have got knocked out from that shot, from that Ajax. Don't put it back. Like, Becky kept going. And I promise you there's men in that locker room who would have dropped straight down. I would have. Let's call it 99% of you listen to this would too. And the 1% that's saying you're not, you're lying to yourself. So let's just keep it 100 and say, these are some tough women. And I love the fact that that we're able to showcase just their toughness along with their beauty, because women are more than something to look at, and it sucks that in 2018 that we have to say that. because I personally think, Josh, and you know this, all year long, I felt like the women's division had the better storylines. I felt like they've been more engaging. I felt like it's been just the division is more exciting for whatever reason. And right now, the man is just taking over. And I love that she's taking the moniker of the man, too. Because you know there's some men that hate that dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's I don't know. I love it. So that's what
Becky Lynch is definitely the hottest superstar in all professional wrestling right now, from every sense of phrase, term you want to attach to it, from all cylinders. And she's definitely deserving for the number one spot of this summer fall season of programming, and the sky's the limit for her. She can really make a major name for herself as the months go on and we go into WrestleMania season, and she's obviously she's still the SmackDown Women's Champion, so we'll see how long this title reign goes and where they go with this. But it's cool to join the journey of where these performers are going, and you never know who it's going to be. You never know which performer, male or female, on different brands that's going to take over the wrestling world. And it's going to be an interesting ride as we head towards 2019.
The only thing I kind of want to say too is, remember, anybody listening, ladies and gentlemen, men and women, or listen, genderless. I don't know. It's a new world. I don't want to make it seem like that sounds horribly uninclusive. So I shouldn't say like men and women anymore. But let's just say this. I just remember, losing a title doesn't mean you get buried either. Just please remember that, guys. I have a feeling that WWE, because they know us so well, and by us I mean the wrestling bubble, the echo chamber. They know how to play with our emotions. They know how to get us. They know how to get us in our feels. So just don't be surprised if Becky drops this title at TLC, because she doesn't have to get pinned. She doesn't have to lose the championship, and that isn't burying her. That's not pushing her aside. Don't forget what the very next pay-per-view is and what that pay-per-view does for people's careers and where they could go with that. So, because I remember I did the same thing. I mean, I with some of my favorite wrestlers in the past, like Jericho had a 2-week WCW title reign. I'm like, what the bleep? Like flipping out. Oh, you're just going to give him the undisputed championship. Well, I look like a fool. So it's just so remember that. You always have to lose to elevate. And whether we still like it or not, even though I feel like I have more fun with the SmackDown women's division, Raw is still the marquee show. And the idea, remember, if Becky wins the Rumble, she doesn't have to stay on SmackDown. She can go after any title she wants. And I truly believe there's some unfinished business. So.
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, you can follow the Clown Prince at Twitter at AdamDaley13. We are
Prince, not Crown Prince. I love it. I know. No, I know. I'm just making sure everybody else out there knows. I personally love the media. Certain crown princes don't, but I do. So remember, clown, not crown. I don't drink, but I do wear face paint. So.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. After these comments, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen this time next week, and I'll give you some thoughts on the Chicago Bears as we wrap up the debut edition of the Hoots Podcast.
Becky, we now know that Asuka will be joining you and Charlotte Flair in the first ever women's tables, ladders, and chairs match in 3 weeks. So what are you doing to prepare for this?
Yeah, well, Asuka earned her way into the triple threat match. Asuka earned her way into it. She won a battle royal. She earned it. Isn't that a little bit different from Charlotte Flair? Charlotte Flair just got handed an opportunity again tonight. Again, what a surprise. Oh, is that an opportunity? Oh, let me take that opportunity. Oh, opportunity? Oh, yes, I'll take that, sir. Thank you kindly. Opportunity. Oh, look, there's a C on there for Charlotte. Charlotte taking the freaking opportunities left, right, and center. Of course, the chips are stacked against me one more time because they don't want me to be the champ. They want Charlotte Flair to be the champ. That's why they give her opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. Right, so how am I getting ready? Well, I stay ready, Kayla. Because this is the thing. They've never wanted me to be the top dog. They've never wanted me to be the man, but I'm the man, and everybody out there knows it, and everybody's going to stay knowing it when I beat both Asuka and Charlotte Flair at TLC.
Good to hear comments from the one and only Becky Lynch. the SmackDown Women's Champion. Welcome back here for our final segment here on the debut edition of the Hoots Podcast. Hope you guys have been enjoying this. And sorry for if it's being short this week. We had some really unfortunate circumstances that got in the way. Unfortunately, at the wrong time with it being the debut, but bring some good content for you guys this week. And we're going to talk about this time next week, since Adam will be here on the show fully. This time next week, I have a different. It's a segment that I came up with a couple of months ago, and I got it from the show called Get Up, which is the morning show on ESPN with Mike Greenberg. And they talked about this time tomorrow. We'll be talking about what, and it could be about any headline. It could be anything related, sports, music, wrestling related, and it's been a fun segment that me and Adam had gone back and forth with, and we have fun talking about it. And we have this, it's a good way to show our chemistry on air and just talk about and add a comedic flavor to it. I have a couple of things that are on my mind for this time next week. For example, this time next week, hopefully I'll make sure to see the Creed movie, because I heard it's been really good, and I loved Creed 1, and I'll definitely see Creed 2 this time next week. This time next week, I am going to get ready to figure out what the hell I'm going to buy myself for Christmas. That's definitely on the agenda. This time next week, hopefully I'll get some more time at the tattoo shop, get some more extra money. This time next week, I'm going to be playing some tunes from the band called ELO. That's right, the Electric Light Orchestra. One of the best classic rock bands of all time. This time next week, the Bears will be playing the Los Angeles Rams on Sunday Night Football, and I'm very excited for that. But with that, let me just say this really quick. I've been very consistent with my thoughts on the Chicago Bears this season, and it's been really been a lot of fun to watch this team over this year. And at the end of the day, I'll take this 1 week at a time. You cannot look over any opponents this week. I said it when it came to the Buffalo game or the Jets game over the last couple weeks. I've been very consistent about it when I've been talking about the Bears on this podcast. You got to take it 1 week at a time. I'm not guaranteeing anything. We could lose. We could be upset this week, and it's the trap game, with the Giants and this and that. I got to take this 1 week at a time, but don't be mistaken. I'm really appreciating this journey that we've been on this year. And at the beginning of the season, I was like, it'd be cool to have 8 wins as a progress, because the team last year was 5-11 and has been in the bottom cellar of the NFC North over the last 4 years. And the fact that the team is 8-3 right now, I'm not taking that for granted. But at the same time, shit happens. It's the NFL. Things happen. Teams can go on losing streaks. Things you wouldn't expect happens. And you got to take this 1 week at a time. And I'm not overlooking the Giants, nor should the team. And we'll see what happens. It's been fun watching this team going on, but again, you got to be cautious and take this 1 week at a time. My final one for this time next week will be celebrating the birthday for Miss AJ Daley. That's right. My lovely niece will be turning 9 next Sunday, a week from this Sunday, December 9th. Got the Raiders against Steelers, so it's going to be a big hoopla at the Daley household. Wish I could have been there and celebrate with you guys, but Miss AJ is turning 9 next Friday, which is pretty damn cool. So that's this time next week, and I have a couple of final thoughts I want to share before we head out for the debut edition. Again, thank you guys so much for the support leading up to the show, and just the support of all the podcasts, whether we've been called the Pro Wrestling Experience or the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast, whether we've been on radio, video, or on audio. Your support has been really, really humbling from myself and Adam, and we love you guys for the support every single week. My final thoughts is this. We took a different approach this week because I knew a lot of people were going to spend a lot of their time this week on their shows crucifying this edition of Monday Night Raw. And it was a weird night for me because it was the weird night where I actually had off from work, and I like to inform you guys what's going on with me when it comes to my work schedule, because I do run a website called Pro Wrestling Transcriptions, and I do these transcription articles, and sometimes I have the ability to cover a show live like I will tonight for Impact Wrestling. But when it comes to a WWE show, maybe I'm not able to cover that show live as it goes on. But I was off Monday. We've been getting a lot of snow here in the city. It's been some really bad weather coming out here in the Windy City, but I've been living through this. I can deal with it. I'm fine. Don't worry. So usually on the day where I'm not working, I like to inform you guys if I'm going to do dark or not. Because it's important to let you guys know what's going on with this show and the website. Just so you guys know what's going on in my life as well. Because I want you to be part of this journey. You know, there's a lot of times where I'm by myself and I feel like I'm lonely at times. So more and more I can be open and honest with you guys. Not if let's say if I did have a lot of friends and I was going out places and this and that, yada yada. Of course I'd be the same me and being honest. I'm not gauging or separating the two here, but I'm saying like there's a lot of times where I'm lonely and I really don't have a lot of people to talk to at times when I'm not on air. And just let you guys know what's going on in my life. And I'm a writer, I'm a podcaster, I'm a broadcaster, and I clean clamps and tattoo tubes at a tattoo shop. That's me in a nutshell. I have no girlfriends, I have no kids. It's not on my priority list. I'm a simpleton kid from the city of Chicago, half Puerto Rican and half Italian, and I'm very grateful to have this platform to say that I would be doing something like this for 6 years when I was one of the most shyest dudes in history and civilization. It's something I don't forget. It's something I don't take for granted because it's been a process of opening myself up to the public, to you guys, and listening to this type of show. And the fact that you guys supported this work, whether it was writing or on air, it's really humbling because sometimes I don't know if people appreciate what we're doing here in the show or not. And, maybe I'll admit I could do a better job marketing the show and getting the show out there, this and that. But it's never been about winning awards or making money. I'm in this to have fun when it comes to this particular show. When I do my articles and other stuff, it's to help extend the reach of my work, to hopefully work at a radio station or something like that down the road. But I love what I do here as a platform. I love sharing this show with my brother Adam. That's why we changed the name of the show to the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast and the Hoots Podcast. It's not just me. It's not about me. It's about myself and Adam, and we do a great job here, and we have fun, provide some audio whoop-ass. It's just that simple. I want to thank everybody for the support every single week, whether it's the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast, the Hoots Podcast, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Thank you guys so much for the support. This has been our debut episode. Go Bears this week. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at NotoriousJoshie. Make sure to follow the Clown Prince on Twitter at AdamDaley13. We'll give you guys we'll keep you updated when it comes to our new iTunes account, where you can find it on iTunes and Spotify and Google Play. We're going to make sure to extend the reach of the show as this show goes on. But with that said, you can always check out ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com. Put in the grunt work there, catch up all these damn wrestling shows. And in the meantime, make sure to subscribe to the podcast. You can find it right now on YouTube, youtube.com/TheHootsPodcast. You can find it there. If you have any questions or suggestions for us, please hit us up on our email account. It's TheHootsPodcast@gmail.com. Always open up to suggestions, and we'll go from there. And the Facebook page will be obviously facebook.com/TheHootsPodcast as well. So for the Clown Prince, since he was on earlier, even though he wasn't able to be on the full show this week, he will be on next week for sure. Shout out to all the good brothers and good sisters, Ran with Dan, everybody down at MJ as well. And you, the listener especially, thank you guys for the support. I love you guys. Be good, man. Take a chill pill. Laugh a little bit. Crack a beer. Crack some water in my case because I'm straight edge. And just have some fun. Lighten up a little bit. I get it. Could things be better on Raw and SmackDown each week? Absolutely. But wrestling's supposed to be fun. Before you know it, the Royal Rumble's going to be here. And I'm not saying I'll just sit back and just let things go by. But at the same time, I understand it's not that bad too, you know. I think we're over-exaggerating our frustrations, if you will, on Monday Night Raw. Hey, I don't watch the show live each week. I don't have to sit there through 3 hours each week. And when I find out that there's repeated matches on the show, hey, it helps me out as a transcriber because I know what the match is going to look like, so it makes my job easier. But at the end of the day, guys, wrestling's fun. Wrestling's an escape. Let's treat it as an escape. We're not above wrestling. We're not better than the people who do this for a living. We're not. Let's just be realistic and understand to have fun with this at the end of the day. We are wrestling fans. We're not wrestling bookers. We're not part of the committee. We are wrestling fans. It's just that simple. And with that said, remember, you are the director of your life story. Never let anybody impugn your integrity or your character. I love you guys. This has been the debut edition of the Hoots Podcast. Too sweet. Talk to you guys next week.
Bullshit is everywhere. Bullshit is rampant. Parents are full of shit. Teachers are full of shit. Clergymen are full of shit. Law enforcement people are full of shit. The entire country is completely full of shit. In fact, this country was founded by a group of slave owners who told us that all men are created equal. That is what's known as being stunningly full of shit. And you know, I think people show their ignorance when they say they want politicians to be honest. What are these people talking about? If honesty was suddenly introduced into politics, it would throw everything off. The whole system would collapse. And I think deep down the American people know that. The American people like their bullshit out front.